All right, 7th graders, this is chapter 8. The first thing is ratios, page 399 in your book. And my pen go in here again. I don't know why I don't have it ready before I start. 399. So take a look in vocabulary. It says a ratio. A ratio, it says, the definition, it uses division to compare two numbers. And I want you to put in parentheses, really it's just a fancy word for a fraction. Equivalent ratios are two fractions equal to each other. All right, so here we go. Our key concept is, it says, here's your box. You got, and they had these all in boxes. I couldn't draw the lines right here. Oop, I can't even draw them now. Like this. And you go across this way, and you go across this way. Okay, so the first thing you can write them, words wins, 2 losses. You use the word 2. So they're saying 18 to 13. And the algebra A to B, where B is a non-zero. You can't have a 0 on the second number. Wins over losses, you can write them like a fraction, 18 over 13, or A over B, and B can't be a 0. Or you can use the semicolon in between it. Even with the algebra, B cannot be a 0. So take a few seconds. If you need to pause this, write that down, and then let's get to writing some ratios. So how can you compare a baseball team's wins to its losses during spring training? Well, you can do that by writing a ratio. So use the table to make comparisons about the games played, their wins to their losses. So you look at the table, we are doing the Cubs. Okay, Cubs wins to losses. So they won 17 to their losses, which was 14. Make sure I get the right numbers, and I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me if I do. Okay, and then you also could write it 17 over 14, or you can write it 17 semicolon 14. One thing you got to be sure is if it can reduce, especially when you get it in fraction form. If it can reduce, you need to simplify those, and it can't. So okay, games won, their Cubs wins to games played. So their wins were, I'm going to do the fraction first. Their wins were 17. Their games played was 31. That's their wins and their losses together. Now this one can reduce. 17 can go into both of those. So it's 1 to 2. So for every one game that they won, they lost 2. That's probably not too good, is it? Those of you who keep track of all of that. And they didn't reduce. Oh, did I add wrong? Oh, I did. Shoot. You guys. So it wouldn't reduce. Still not a good ratio. It's just 17 over 31. It didn't reduce. But if it could reduce, you got to reduce it. Sorry about that. Write the ratio of wins to games played for the Padres. I'll try to do better on this one. The Padres won 16 games. To games played would be 27. Or 16 to 27, or 16 semicolon 27. Did I get that one right? Yes. And they must have, it says write the ratio. I guess it doesn't care which way you write it. Amusement parks. Writing ratios in simplest form. You wait in line for 1.5 hours to ride a roller coaster. You spend the last 2 minutes. What is the ratio of time spent in line to time spent on the ride? So when it's ratio, you just write it in the order they give. So time spent in line is 1.5 hours to 2 minutes. I don't think we can leave it that way. I think we need to change these because we can't reduce them unless they're the same. It's easier to change hours to minutes than this to hours. So 1.5 hours is 90 minutes. So you waited 90 minutes in line to 2 minutes to on the ride. So divide those by 2. It'd be 45 for one You waited 45 minutes for 1 minute on the ride. Every 1 minute on the ride is a 45-minute rate. Boy, that better be a good ride, huh? And then again, they wanted us to reduce that. And we needed to make them be the same. That's why I changed the minutes. It was easier to change the minutes than it was 90 over 2, 45 over 1. Example 3. According to the table, who has the greater ratio of rock CDs to pop CDs, Luis or Anna? Okay, the ratio is rock to pop. So we're going to go rock is written first over pop on the bottom. I'm just going to do that so I remember which is which. Okay, so Luis. Rock, he has 9 to pop 24. And I can reduce that by dividing by 3, so that would be 3/8. And that is Luis. Anna has 28 rock and 70 pop. Divide, 7 can go into both of those. That'd be 4 over 10. Actually, I guess 14 could have. Another 2. 2 over 5. According to the table, who has the greater ratio? So 3/8, basically we have to compare 3/8 and 2/5. I don't know if you guys remember that trick where you do the cross products. 15 is less than 16, so Anna has the greater ratio. That number, that fraction is bigger. So they're doing the same thing we did. I bet you they reduce, oh, they did them as decimals to compare them, which makes it a little bit easier. But ours, I think, is just as easy, if you remember that. But changing fractions to decimals is another good way to compare. What if, in example 2, suppose you wait for 1 1/3 hours. Find the ratio of time in line to the ride. Okay, remember it was 2 minutes on the ride, so 60 here. This is 60. A third of an hour means you take 60 minutes and divide it by 3, so that'd be 20. So that'd be 80 minutes. So chop those both in half, 40 to 1. In example 3, who has the greater ratio of pop CDs to hip hop? So pop to hip hop. So I'm going to write that. Pop to hip hop. Kind of hard to say. Pop to hip hop. Okay, so Luis. Luis has 24 to 16, and we can divide those by 8. That's going to be 3 over 2. Anna, pop is 70 over 40. Reduce, so that's 7/4. So that's 1 3/4. That's 1 1/2. Oh, those are easy for decimals for me. That's 1.5, and that's 1.75. So Anna wins again. And Anna wins. Who has the greater ratio of hip hop to rock? Oh my goodness, how many of these are going to make us do? Okay, so hip hop to rock. That's my little note so I remember. Luis. Hip hop for Luis is 16 and rock is 9, and those do not reduce. Anna, hip hop is 16 to rock, which was 28. Well, right away Luis is going to win on this one because his is an improper fraction, so I know that's got to be 1. Chop those, so divide those by 4. That's going to be 4/7, and that's 1 5, or 1 7/9. So obviously the mixed number is bigger than a fraction, so Luis finally wins that one. Good deal, Luis. All right, so those are ratios. Have fun. See you next time.